Afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today to hear from Walgreens about how they're transforming supply chain management using big data. And when they talk big data, they're talking trillions of rows with a T, using Kyvos and Tableau to visualize the data. I'm Ajay Anand from Kyvos Insights. I handle products at Kyvos Insights, and what we do is we build a consumption layer on your big data so that now you can connect to data at massive scale from Tableau and get instant response times. Let me introduce the Walgreens team. Ann Cruz, on my right, is manager of Walgreens merchandising and supply chain technology. And she's a key part of Walgreens' multi-year transformation journey, where data strategy and technology are critical components to deliver on business strategy. Mahek Parekh is a data scientist on Walgreens' supply chain analytics team, specifically supporting inventory management, and she's responsible for defining what's needed on the scorecards that are being created with Tableau. Nirav Jain is a senior technical architect responsible for architecting and operationalizing their big data journey on multiple projects. He's going to talk about how Walgreens is using Hadoop, Tableau, and Kyvos to deliver end-to-end supply chain scorecards with interactive response times on over 120 terabytes of data. So with that, over to the Walgreens team.
Thanks, Ajay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this session. I'm really surprised that it's actually overflowing right now, so it really makes us very happy that you are interested in what we wanted to share. My name is Anne. As Ajay said, we are from Walgreens. I support the supply chain and the space management, analytics and operations at Walgreens. Anyone here does not know what Walgreens is? Srini, are you raising your hand? So we've been a company that has been trusted since 1901. We champion the health and well-being of every community in America, of our customers. It's very important for us that we are able to provide you guys the convenience of when you walk into a Walgreens store, you're going to have the product that you came there to buy. It's not a big box retailer, and with the ever-growing omni-channel that we have to compete with right now, it's very imperative that we are managing our supply chain at an optimized level. So we have 40,000 products in every store. I know it's a small space, but we do have 40,000 SKUs in each store. If we talked about Walgreens as a whole, there's about 300,000 items, but we don't really sell items in every store. Like, we don't sell Chicago things in New Orleans. Let me go back to that slide. We do sell health and wellness, grocery, beauty, and we do sell seasonal. I have to go back to the slide because I have to make sure Halloween is coming, last minute shopping. Go to your Walgreens store. Please increase our candy sales. It's like our #1 sales during Halloween. And if you need last minute Halloween costume, we do have them at the store too. So if you're in New Orleans, you better take advantage of it, right? This is the most simplified model of how we have our product from our suppliers, 20,000 international and local suppliers. They fly it, ship it to our distribution centers. We have about 15 data centers nationwide. And then we have a fleet of trucks that delivers it to our stores and from our stores into the hands of our loyal customers such as you guys. We have about more than 100 million customers, and right now we're at 9,000 stores. It's no longer a secret that we acquired some Rite Aid stores, so towards the end of 2019, we are expecting to be at 10,000 stores. We're talking about our America operation. So you guys came here to listen about our reporting ecosystem and supply chain, right? What are we doing with our big data? On a day-to-day job, running a retail pharmacy company, most of our leaders depends heavily on the reports that we provide to them. So there are analysts, there are business users, our leadership team looks at like the data that we have to define and decide on what are we buying? What does our customer want? Are we supplying the right product to the right store? Let's say we have a product to make sure that the mosquitoes stay away, and then it rains, so the demand increase. Are we sending the right amount of product into that store, or are we losing sale because I need something, I go into the store, and the shelf is empty? It's very important for us to like make those decisions at the right time and have the right item at the right amount. This is a very simplified version of our databases and tools. I will not be able to list everything in here, but 5 of the most important reports in supply chain is listed here. This is what we think is going to help our business optimize our supply chain operations. I can talk about them, but I think it would make more sense for somebody from the business, like the data analyst, Mahek, to actually give you guys a background on what these reports are.
All right, thanks, Anne. Hi, everyone. My name is Mahek Parikh. I am on supply chain analytics team at Walgreens, and I can say with certainty for my 2 years there, we have done hundreds of iterations trying to answer all of these questions. So it became really important to understand what were the questions we were answering over and over again, repeatedly, and consolidate them into 5 reports that then we can have all that data available to us. So these are the 5. If I go to the next slide, I can go through kind of some of the business questions we're answering with this reporting platform and why it's important for our day-to-day business to function. So the first scorecard that we have prioritized as part of this project is the forecast scorecard. So our planners at Walgreens, they all have specific sets of items that they manage on a day-to-day basis to make sure they flow from our DCs to our stores. A planner can have anywhere from 200 to 2,000 items, like specific items that they have to manage. No one's going to look through that every single day. It's just not possible. There are not enough hours. So it became really important to be able, especially in the regards to forecast, have the ability to understand what are the item forecasts that are the most important to review to this day. Where are we really not, we're not meeting our sales are not meeting that forecast, or where are we under forecasting? So that was kind of the question we're answering with that one. The next one is a supplier scorecard. So as Anne has said, we have thousands of suppliers, and it's really important. Our suppliers are key to making sure our inventory gets to the stores. So it's really important to understand how their performance is measuring for the KPIs that we have built for them. So with this scorecard, we're able to see how they're performing, have these KPIs actually talk to each other, and then even root cause down to a granular level to be able to understand, this one KPI is not performing well. I can drill down to a purchase order level piece of information to be able to see what's causing that. In the next scorecard, can you hit? Oh, it's right there. It's right here. In the next scorecard, it's an out-of-stock scorecard. So what does this mean? So the biggest, most frustrating problem for all of our planners and all of us at Walgreens is trying to understand, why are we out of stock of an item? We know why it's bad to be out of stock in an item. We can't sell it to anyone, and we're not going to have that profitability. But it's much harder to be able to answer, well, okay, I'm out of stock. What do I need to do to remediate that? So with this scorecard, we have built logic to be able to understand why we're out of stock, how long we've been out of stock for, and come up with remediation action plans to be able to correct for it. The inventory purpose scorecard is showing us for every piece of inventory in our network, so at the stores and at the DCs, why it's there. So we have all of the logic for this scorecard is tied directly to our ordering replenishment systems, so we can really understand, that piece of inventory at that store is specifically there because a parameter was tuned for that reason. And finally, we have a sales and operations planning scorecard. So our planners have tons of meetings every single week. They're working collaboratively across the supply chain with merchandising, with suppliers, with other teams. So they spend a lot of time putting together reports on an ad hoc basis to be able to have certain talking points ready to go for these meetings. With this scorecard, we have understood what the biggest talking points were and put them all in one place, so it's a one-stop shop for our planners to have a report that they can filter and just take with them to their meetings. So now I'm going to give it back to Anne, and she's going to talk about the various data complexities and challenges that we have at Walgreens.
So we did say 100 reports, we selected 5. Seems very simple, and yet we killed you guys with information on what those reports are. Maybe we can give a quiz on what the 5 scorecards are about, but it is very complicated, and we don't really, I'm sure every operation that you guys support, every business users that you guys are trying to serve have the same issue, right? We're trying to provide visualizations to our business users. To give you guys volumetric of how much data we're talking about, we actually have 17 billion transactions daily of sales and inventory data that comes up to our data center. We're talking about daily transaction. You don't report daily. You don't do analytics on daily statistics, right? You need to have at least 1 year worth of data for our inventory purpose, and then the rest of the 4 reports, 104 weeks, so that's like year over year. That's trillion of records of data. We're talking about petabyte. About 3 years ago, we went into a journey of, we want to be able to do data-driven decision making. If we want to be able to be competitive, if we want our customers to be happy, if we want the people at the store to be happy, we need to give them the right tool, the right data, the right amount of work to deal with. So making data-driven decision is imperative, and being able to do that quickly through visualization is necessary. So we centralize our data, we have it in our data lake. What do we do with it? You cannot query this much of data and expect a result. Like for years, we've been trying to do it. Maybe some of it will return a result set after 1 month of processing or weeks, but it's not working. We tried other SQL accelerator engine, other cubing technology. It might work, but it's not at the speed that we need it. So what are those challenges that we have? We cannot do the aggregation that we needed. And if we do, it's at a granularity that would not serve the needs of our business users. So being able to do something is not enough. It should be valuable, right? It should be able to address the need. It should be able to help the business do the purpose of the reports. It's very time consuming. And nowadays, like, I'm not gonna sit in my computer, click at something, wait for 5 minutes before something comes up. I'm gone. I'm like, I don't even know if it's still working. And I'm not even kidding. Sometimes we wait for days for our batch jobs to like get done. It's shameful to even admit that, but these are things that we are not able to address before. And now we are actually sharing this story because we are able to actually do something about that opportunity. And I'm gonna have Nirav, a technical architect, who actually help us define the technology stack that we need on how to solve those opportunities.
Thank you, Anne and Mac. They're doing a phenomenal job, right? They're awesome. Now let's talk about problems, right? Let's talk about what they're looking for. So we have 10,000 store and 40,000 products, right? Let's multiply that for sake of it. What it is? 400 million, right? 400 million. That's the lowest granularity they want the data. Now we have a genius in our team, Mahek, which came with the inventory, management side, where she wanted to know at that level, store item level, she wanted to bucket it out where the inventory is sitting. So she further did, at that level, I want 13 buckets to be created. So let's multiply by 13. What's the number we get? Little over 3 to 5 billion records, okay? Let's leave it there. Now, that was not enough. That's for just 1 week worth of data because a weekly report. Now they wanted this over 53 weeks. Let's multiply further. We are going in hundreds of billions of records right now. That's the data they needed, okay? And we called, and they wanted sub-second response time. We called our Tableau partners, everybody, people saying, you're insane. The amount of performance you're going to get, it's not going to work out. It's never been done in Tableau. So we had a lot of negativity when we are building this solution. But we are confident. We did some POCs, and we'll get back into that. But the business requirement was that, we had to deal with a lot of data set, and the business wanted the data at the granular level to be reported, as well as all the aggregate level, different types of aggregation they wanted. So when I talked about that, 53 weeks worth of data, I missed a couple more points. By the way, they also want the data with like 13 to 15 dimensions with hierarchies 6 to 7 level deeps. So it builds up to be like 70 to 80 dimension level records that needed. Plus, they wanted 70 plus KPIs to be built along with it. And all the aggregate levels, all the different aggregate level from bottom up they wanted, to all the way from the store level, store item level to the chain level. Fun, right? If you think about it, all the calculation that is required, this is just, I'm talking about one scorecard. Like that, we were supposed to build 5 scorecards all together, and we are supposed to give sub-second response time. That's the solution we built. I'm telling you, I'm so proud of the solution that we're going to discuss. I'm so excited about it, because when I'm an architect, I look for challenges like that. When business say impossible, I say, yeah, that's what I'm going to prove that wrong. So, so one other challenge was that we were all over the place, and we'll talk about it, that we need to centralize and standardize our data logic, because as we go in the organization, as you keep growing, it's a 100-year-old company, data sits everywhere, right? They wanted a high performance and scalable architecture because they wanted to not only stop here, they want to keep growing, expand on top of it. They don't want that one solution done and we can't move forward with it. They wanted business to give the self-service access without IT involvement. They want to access the data and move forward. Also, another requirement business put on, by the way, we don't want access for only internal users. We want access to our suppliers. On top of it, by the way, one supplier cannot see other suppliers' data. So literally, you have to do row-level security. You are excited about so far what you heard? Interesting challenge. Why you choose Kyvos? So we did some POCs with Kyvos before we moved forward. It was not like, oh, we choose Kyvos. We did with multiple tools, but Kyvos stood out. We were looking for sub-second response. We did a POC with decent amount of data. It looks to be working. We still have some thoughts, man. This amount of data, when we expand with 5 scorecards, is it going to work? Still a question mark. We have over 20,000 suppliers, and our top 5,000 suppliers, at least, we want to give access to. So that was another thing that business want to get access, because once suppliers can look at data, how they are doing, hopefully they can perform better. Business wanted to scale. They want to look at 2 years worth of data at the lowest granularity. They want flexibility of immediate access to the data. They don't want to sit and wait on their PC for 5 minutes for anything to come up. It's waste of time. It's frustration. We wanted connectivity through SQL, Tableau, because that's what business users are used to, and they'll be able to create their own report. And one thing we were looking for, which Kyvos provided very, very well, was support and their professional service, because we are dealing with very high amount of data, and we needed experts in the industry to help us build this solution. I think so Kyvos stood out in that. So as any organization, you might have dealt in your organization that data is all over the place. What it talks about is that, we have data sitting in multiple sources, and then it's built up into a server layer in multiple places, like it's sitting in Netezza, Oracle, Excel, or SAS, everywhere. And different business users are creating reports from different places, and different logics are applied. And then one scorecard they compare with other, data is not matching up. And business saying, you are wrong, I am wrong. It was all frustration. On top of it, you're reporting out of Excel or even from Hadoop directly, right? It's not going to perform with this much amount of data. Even they can't comprehend to have all this data reported at one time. So they have to take small chunks. They're sitting in literally when I started this, I don't belong to supply chain. So when I started discussing supply chain, I say, oh, I need to sit till night, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock to do my reporting because the amount of data is so huge. I felt so bad. Literally, man, this is today's day and age. We can't have that, a guy sitting till 12 o'clock and not able to churn the data out. So I was like really emotionally involved at that point when I saw that guy's, supply chain person's frustration. So what we did to achieve this architecture, so this is high level, and I'll go into more detail level. But first thing we did is we analyzed all the sources from where data is coming in. And then we pulled into Hadoop. I love Hadoop for this reason, that I don't need to worry about size. I can get as much data as I want into Hadoop. We got all the data into Hadoop. We centralized our sources. We had one source of truth for all the data sets. We standardized the data. And we used Kyvos to build the cube in Hadoop, right? And then we use Kyvos to project this data set using Tableau, Excel to serve all our scorecards. And we're going to discuss more about it. So by this, we achieved the highly responsive dashboard that we are looking for. And we'll show a small demo also about that. And we had to centralize our data set, reduce our processing time. So this was good. I will come back to you. So hold on to your questions. I'll come back to. I have a detailed architecture also, so I'll come to you. And we have a Q&A where I'm going to get not us also, but all the developers who are involved in to give our Q&A. So just hold on your question. You'll get every question answered. And we want to help you answer this because I know your organization will face similar issues, and we are more than happy to share each and everything so you can be successful. That's the goal of this. So from going from this slide to this slide, right? You saw Anne shared some of this data set that we had 62 billion records. You look on the cube size, because with all the combination we create, it is 200 terabytes of data we are talking about. And look at the response time. 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 7 seconds. Have you heard about this? With this much volume of data, this performance, you can do filter on any of the dimension and get this response time. I have not heard about it, trust me. So I was very excited about this solution, what we have built. And Kyvos stood out. Kyvos and Tableau stood out. Tableau with their awesome dashboards and Kyvos performance, they stood out. Now let's look at the architecture to your question, right? Let's discuss it out. What are we doing? Let's go from a bottom left-hand side. We have our sources feeding into our Hadoop cluster. We are ingesting the data, and then we are processing the data. We are doing all the integration of the data to standardize the data and integrate the data. And then what we are doing is we are using Kyvos OLAP engine. You see on the OLAP engine, that's a driver that will kick off the cube build on Hadoop. All the cubes are built in Hadoop, and then we're copying over the query engine. And this is wrongly written. It's not a Hadoop consumption Kyvos. It's just consumption Kyvos. There's no Hadoop in that. So that is something editing we need to do. But that's a consumption Kyvos. It's sitting in a local disk, but it's doing a replication of the data set. So what we are doing in the cook layer, let me step back. In the cook layer, we are creating data in facts and dimensions for the Kyvos to ingest. Now, Kyvos has a UI where we build all the measures and everything, and then we kick off the cube build process. The cube is built in terms of cuboids and copied over to query engine. Now, what is happening is all the data is sitting there, and we distribute the data on a weekly basis because based on the access pattern, weekly or daily basis, we have two types of scorecard. When the Tableau user gets in, he connects to the OLAP engine of Kyvos, and we have highly available OLAP engine, so if one goes down, we have another one available, and it accesses the query engine to access the data. So this all happening, that user accessing through their machine to the Tableau server, going down, accessing query engine, getting the data set in like 5 to 6 seconds. Okay. All right, I'll come back to again to a little more detail about it, but I'll hand over to Mahek to get a little more into the business side, how we build the Tableau and for what purpose.
All right, so we talked about some of the great performance that we've had. So I guess some of my ideas were not that insane, but these are some of the scorecards. We're going to showcase what they kind of look like, and then also how the use cases that we're able to support with our business team through the visualizations and through the sub-second response time. So one of the scorecards, as discussed previously, it's the supplier performance scorecard. So again, we have so many suppliers, thousands and thousands of them. And it's really important to be able to analyze your performance and see how they're stacking up on their KPIs, because again, our suppliers are the reason why our inventory is in the stores. They're a crucial part of that. So with the supplier scorecard, what's great about it, and what's great about all of them, honestly, is that a lot of these data sources have been decentralized. A lot of our KPIs would live in different systems. So now what we're able to do is we've centralized all the data, and we're able to put it all together. So that way when we do filters, when we do root cause, we can see specifically how they play into each other. So the team that actually used to create this report before, I remember I was talking to them, they were creating this report manually every single month and sending it manually to 200 suppliers. So huge win to be able to automate this. Also, as Nirav has discussed, we're able to give suppliers direct access to this scorecard so they can see how they're performing on their KPIs. So, when we do have collaborative sessions, we are all looking at the same exact information. We have that single source of truth, and we make sure with that row-level security that they're only looking at the information that's pertinent to them. So this is what our supplier scorecard, one of our views, looks like. So this is kind of showcasing the drill down capability that's available through this scorecard. So if you look at the screen that's kind of in the back, it has the green and blue cells. That's showing vendor by vendor how our KPIs are performing. We have it as green, we're performing well in comparison to whatever is filtered here. And blue is something that's worth investigating. What's great about this scorecard, though, is at the very high level, we can see what stands out. We understand through visualization and heat maps what we need to look at, but we have the ability to click right into that cell and drill down to all the way up to purchase order level detail to be able to understand, hey, that purchase order never came, or it only was 50% filled. So we can have that specific talking point with our suppliers to say, we're not performant on this KPI, and we know exactly why. Another really cool feature that we're all really excited about with the supplier scorecard is we can compare multiple suppliers all right next to each other. So what's really cool about this is we can pick whichever ones we want. I think for this specific use case, Halloween is next week. So we picked a bunch of different candy suppliers and just want to see how their KPIs are performing. Are they filling the DCs on time? Is all of our POs getting filled? So we can have a very quick snapshot that we can filter right away to be able to see this information. Another scorecard that I've talked about previously is this out of stock items or outs scorecard. So again, the scorecard is able to show us, how long we've been out of stock for an item, but why we've been out of stock for an item also. So for this specific view, this is showing us day by day how long we've been out of stock for an item. So each of these stacked colored bars represents how many days our out of stock duration has been. So this is filtered specifically for whatever criteria you want. In this example, we have it filtered for a Puerto Rico market, which we're always trying to understand, is our inventory getting there on time? When looking at the snapshot actually right now, I can see the first week of the month, so more on the right-hand side of the screen, our out of stocks have really increased, and it seems like it really increased for the 3 to 7 days duration. So I know a delivery happens at least once a week to that market. So maybe they're not happening, and that's why they're out of stock. What I can do to be able to understand that even further is I can click specifically into that bar, and it lists out all the items that are out of stock and even gets you to the point where you can say the reason you're out of stock and then have an action plan to remediate that out of stock. The last scorecard that we kind of want to show off today is our inventory purpose scorecard. So again, our inventory purpose scorecard, what is it doing? It's telling us exactly why we have every single piece of inventory in the network across all of our DCs and our 9,000 to soon to be 10,000 stores. So inventory is probably one of the most crucial parts of our supply chain. having the inventory in the store is how we make the sales, as I've said before. So it was really important to be able to understand where the inventory is located, and then also be able to say, this is why it's there. So when looking at some of the views that we've created, we have views for various audiences. So this one specifically is an executive view. So our leadership can look at this and say at a high level, our inventory is this much is in the store, this much is in the DCs, this is how much overall, and how it trends not only week over week, but because we get 53 weeks of data, we can do year over year as well. And what's great about it is we can see through heat maps where our largest changes are by the categorization logic, and then we can even on this screen drill down to item level detail. So what's really great is we've been able to visualize and understand where to click, but then drill down to that detail so we can have the ability to root cause it. Another view that we have for the inventory purpose scorecard is this stacked bar view. This is probably the favorite of all the planners for this specific scorecard. So what this is doing, as Nirav called out, some of the bucketing logic that was designed for this scorecard, it stacks it all on top of each other week over week, so we can see specifically how the categorization changes over time. So what does that mean exactly? So let's say I have a promotion coming up for hair care. I can see based on whatever parameters are designed, how inventory ramps up and how inventory ramps down and how that affects where it's placed in the network. So very quickly, at a very high level, able to see that information, see those trends, but again, we still have the ability to click into those specific stacks and get to the item level, even store level drill downs from this view. And then I'll give it back to Nirav to talk about performance.
All right. I think so we have talked about it. Now it's time to show also a little bit that, yes, we did it. So we'll give an example of one of the Tableau report. Next slide will show you a quick demo. It's a pre-recorded, but it's a quick demo that we are filtering inventory data, which we are talking about, which I initially talked about, that we have 17 buckets at the store PLN level. We are going to look at that data. We are going to do some filtration on that data. Currently, this data set has 17 weekly partitions. So they have like 30 billion plus inventory records in that. And we have multiple segmentation. And this video will show a quick filtration that we are doing. So let me go to the video, and I'll walk you through this one. So right now what we did is we cleared one of our segmentation data, and we selected one. OK, let's select one more. So it's going to send out multiple queries. And now this query is hitting the Kyvos. Let's count it. It's a lot of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 seconds, 6, 7 seconds, I think so we got a response time. That's pretty good, right? Now think about it. Look at this picture. We have so much dimension data, right? So many KPIs. The queries goes against each KPI. How many KPIs we build? The queries will go to Kyvos, like there might be 30 KPIs built or 10 KPIs built. All the queries goes against those KPIs. It will look at the selected data set. Each one will have a separate query going against it. And so there are multiple queries going against Kyvos to pull this data set together. It's not just one query. There are like 10 to 30 queries going against Kyvos to pull this data set and get a response in 6 seconds across 30 plus billion records with all the combination you can think about from the cubing perspective. All right, what were the key points we have learned? Our Tableau team and Kyvos team actually had me put this together, so I'll speak some of the key points that this told me. One of the things we have like Kyvos and Tableau, right? Kyvos for me is like a Ferrari. If you have to use it, you have to have precision. If you don't do it, you are going to crash, means slow performance. So you have to be smart about it. You can't use that RDBM's thought process to use the Kyvos, right? So just keep that process in mind. Some of the things related to that is like, when you're checking the filters, if you want to select multiple filters, let's pause. On Tableau, there's a button, just pause it, select all your filters, and then resume. Because every time, if you don't pause it, every time you select a filter, it's behind the scenes running the query against Kyvos for pulling the data. So it will take time if you try to click like 10 filters like that. So we have to be smart about it. We have to do a good, design trade-offs. Probably breadcrumbs, we are seeing that it's not performing if we use breadcrumbs. Number of filters, we have too many number of filters. Now think about Kyvos cube, right? every time we add more dimension data, we exponentially increase the data set. So you have to be smart about how many filters you want on the Tableau report. Getting the data design right up front is very, very important, And some other things is like hierarchies must be fully qualified, because you can have a date hierarchy in multiple, dimensions. And it can cause confusion, or it can select wrong hierarchies. You should have fully qualified hierarchy listed down. Now, measures are the most important thing that you're building for the KPIs, and that has to be defined in advance. You can't define on the fly. You have to discuss with business and make sure these are the KPIs you want to build with. Now, all the hierarchies also has to be predefined in Tableau, in Kyvos. We have to predefine all the hierarchies, because Tableau will not be able to define that. So that we have to do in Kyvos, the predefined hierarchies. Now, you can do all the filters in Tableau for sure, Now, from Kyvos perspective, what we need to do is see how we get a performance. Yeah, data is indexed, but it has to be partitioned in the right manner. One of the things we understood, and we talked to business, what is the access pattern? So a business said, we will start with weekly or daily at a level, that they will go at a date level and start scanning the data through in normal reports. So we have to partition our data at the add week or at a day level. We partition data, and then we did sub-partition accordingly. So Kyvos can define the capability of sub-partitioning the data, and so that is very important for fast query response time. Now, minimize Tableau layer calculation. Whatever calculation you need to build, try to use Kyvos to build it. Build all the aggregates before, because we are talking a large amount of data. And if you are trying to do LOD function on large amount of data on the fly, it's going to be very slow. And we are looking for sub-second response time to business. So we try to push all our functions. There were some cases where we had to do chain level addition. Yes, we are doing few simple addition and all those things. That's fine. You can do it at a Tableau level, but push all the calculation as much on the Tableau side. And you don't want to join or do a lot of joins in the Tableau level. It all has to be pushed down to Kyvos, pre-build all those things. So the overall design part is so important from this solution perspective. All right. So the benefits which we got, I think so I spoke already about all of it, but for formality, I'll speak again about it. That we got the fast response time on lots and lots of data. We gave the business on-demand analysis, instant insight, right, Mac? Okay, just making sure. We had a single source of truth. We have centralized our data set. We minimize our IT dependency. We have made a whole process automated, so business had to go search for people to look for the data and give it to them. We are doing the pre-aggregation of data using Kyvos, so all the aggregation are pre-built in Kyvos, and we are giving all the way drill-down capability to the lowest granular data. So this solution, I am fair to say that it's Tableau on steroid, according to me. Hopefully you agree with me, but I like this solution. I like this term, Tableau on steroids. Now I'll pass on to Mahek to talk about the business benefits.
Thanks, Nirav. So the biggest benefit to our business is something that we all want to do, saving time. So the biggest benefit for us is it's reduced time to insight. By leveraging visualizations, we can see what the outliers are, what really stands out. But what's really exciting about this is we can not only see what stands out, but we can drill into it at a level of detail that we could not have been able to do before. Getting to item location level detail was something that was very difficult for us, and now we're able to do it through Tableau. It's really exciting. So because we're able to reduce the amount of time we have to insight, we're able to support a lot of business functions specific to these scorecards. We can have better forecasting visibility. We're improving our supply planning. We know why we're out of stock of items and fixing it. And then we're also understanding where inventory is and able to stay lean on inventory because of it while still supporting our sales. On top of that, while supporting our business in the day-to-day operations, we're also able to work more collaboratively. Because we have the ability to share this information with our suppliers, we have one single report that we can all discuss and talk about. And we have the ability to share this not only with them, but across all of our teams. It's really exciting for all of us on the supply chain team. So the last thing we want to discuss is lessons learned from this project.
So, sounds cheesy, a picture paints 1,000 words, but you guys are all Tableau users, so the reason why we use Tableau is because we want visuals, right? We want like people, our business users, to actually see what they need to pay attention to. We have a lot of reporting systems at work. We actually have web applications that gives our users something similar like graphs, but they cannot drill down to it. And that capability was just not possible before. You guys have seen a lot of like Tableau reports, dashboards. I'm sure a lot of you have had background in big data in Hadoop technology, but Tableau reporting on big data, trillion of records, that's just not possible. And with the help of Kyvos, we were able to provide that capability to our business users. It's very important to provide accurate visualizations. Numbers are always going to be numbers unless they can be used for something. So we want to be able to provide data that is accurate and meaningful to our business users. Criticality of the data visualization of this scale. You cannot kill your business users with the initial load of presenting them every single possible thing that they wanted to see in their Tableau dashboards, right? Provide that drill down capability. Let them understand, what do I need to pay attention to? Behavioral science. Red means there's a problem. So if you have a report that shows red, they'll pay attention to it. They know that they have to do something about that particular data. There's an issue about it. Focus on the business requirements. At least for us, we're a retail pharmacy company. So we're not a technology company. We're not trying to wow our business users with what can technology do. We are trying to solve what the business needs, right? With this particular solution, we are on target to be able to save or at least eliminate 13 million of inventory loss in the next 2 years. So we have measurable savings that we know. We invested on this because we will be able to help our supply chain increase our SSIS and reduce our days of supply. By knowing what particular item is needed at the store and when we need it, by having the visibility of the data exposed to our suppliers, if you are our supplier, you will be able to have that conversation with us that we think we can help you optimize what we provide. We think we can deliver our product directly to your store as opposed to like sending it into your distribution center. So having data and being like truthful and honest to your business users, having one source of truth that is being seen by every single stakeholders, that's what we learn, and that's what is going to help us be successful and be able to compete with the other omni-channels in the same space.
So focusing on the exact business requirement, that is very key. I think so that's an industry standard, But in this case, right, we had a integration team which was doing Hadoop development, then we had a Kyvos team, and then the Tableau UI team. I think if guys you have dealt with it, there's 3 different teams all together with different technology stack, different skill set that we are talking, and coordinating between that, getting the requirements fixed is very, very important. There's slight requirement changes, it's okay, but you have to get the requirement fixed. You have to say sometime business, no, we'll do this, let's talk about phase 2, we'll develop a remaining in phase 2. So be bold, because you don't want that keep on changing and then a frustration happens across the board. So that's the thing we did. We did little bit pushback to business that, we will do in phase 2, believe us, just let's complete this at least, I know this is exciting, you want to solve the world problem, but let's solve some fixed problem and then we'll add on to that, solving the problem, Technology stack, yes, we got technology stack nailed down, but infrastructure, don't forget the infrastructure, amount of Hadoop nodes you need for the processing. We are talking large amount of data processing. We were using Taze, Scala, all the skill, languages to process that data. So having the right technology for Tableau, for Kyvos, and for Hadoop is very, very important. And the last thing is having the right technology partner is so critical. Means people who are the experts in this. We called on that. We are lucky. I'll call on our Tableau team who had helped us from Doherty, Kurt, and Sheeny, who helped us. Please come on stage. And then Vikas from Kyvos, who are our partners, who helped us build this solution, awesome solution. And one of the things we liked about this was they knew this solution has not been built yet, and they were vested, like we want to prove it, that we can build a solution and make it happen. They went above and beyond their work commitment to make it happen. So that's the thing, the emotional connection has to happen to make this successful. So that's very important. Now we'll go to the Q&A part, and I'll ask Vikas, Kurt, and Sheeny to help us answer any of your Q&A. Please ask a lot of questions, because I'm hoping that it helps your organization become successful.
All right.
Okay, please go.
Yeah, how did you share reports with your suppliers, but limit, the reports, limit?
Excellent question there. So this is a common problem with Tableau. Internal users on Active Directory, external users on LDAP or other formats. So we used an IDP integration solution, Ping in this case, to set up to be able to have all of those suppliers come through that process. But then once they hit the Tableau layer, then we're passing to Kyvos the user ID, where we have a local directory set up which has specific vendor number identification there, so that when it goes into the Kyvos layer to pull out the data, it's only going after those particular vendor IDs. And so if you don't have that vendor ID, you're not going to see the data.
So we have one of the dimensions vendor. Okay, so when vendor ID access the data, we have put the rule in Kyvos, only give that vendor level. It automatically filters that vendor level data. So that rule has been set up in Kyvos. Please go.
Why did you choose Kyvos versus something like AtScale?
We did different POCs. I think so. At scale also we did, but I think the Kyvos stood out based on the amount of performance we needed. So our other team does a POC, and they did quite a bit. So I don't have all the facts, but I know we definitely did that.
Does it install across all your clusters, or is it on the edge?
No, this is the Kyvos installed on the 10-node cluster, separate cluster outside of Hadoop. And for security reasons also, we wanted to do it outside of Hadoop, because Hadoop we have a lot other financial data, other data sets. So we wanted to keep our consumption cluster completely outside, out of it. So.
How are you bringing that data through?
It's copying, it's replicating the data, and Kyvos automatically, the OLAP engine coordinates that copying of the data from the Hadoop engine. Once the queue, as a part of the queue building process, it does the replication across. Yes, go ahead.
How long does it take to reload the Kyvos queue? Do you do that nightly, or is that in real time?
We are doing it based on the requirement. So we have few cubes for which we need the data daily. So we are building the cube daily, and it took 20 minutes to build the cube. And we have weekly data as well. So we are ingesting weekly data in 45 to 1 hour, 40 minutes. So depending on the use case and grains, what we need.
Yeah, it depends, right? Some of the scorecards can take 30 minutes, but some of the scorecard can 2 minutes. It's the amount of data you're dealing with. Really, it's completely pro. So, go ahead.
Can those dashboards embedded with Salesforce or any other non-standard systems?
I could not get the question again.
Can those dashboards embedded with Salesforce or other non-standard systems? Because our company, we have many systems.
Yes, we can, and we have done that for other clients as well, and so there are wide possibility around it. We have different options to connect, as well as create the dashboard in Kyvos, in Tableau, and share with the other user in terms of any tool. You can connect your different tools as well with Kyvos. It supports MDX and SQL connection, so you can create your tool, your dashboards in different tools as well.
You can use the APIs.
Sorry, you were standing there, so I was really, I know you're raising your hand. You're really considered you are on the recording bench, but please go ahead with the questions.
So I'm just curious about what your thoughts are around BigQuery and Snowflake. Those vendors, they got a lot of shiny glitter on them these days. And then the other thing is, how are you going to scale up this architecture so you keep your response at the 10-second mark, because it maybe goes triples? How are you going to keep that 10 seconds there?
There's different. Let me take that. There's different use cases that we do, right? We actually did some POC with Snowflake too, on the cloud, and depending on the use case, depending on how much do you really want to spend on a certain solution, we're not saying that this is the fastest solution. What we're saying is this is the best solution for the use case that we're trying to address and what the benefits are in our company. So we always go back to what does the business need, what what is the problem that is being solved and what is the right solution for it?
So in this use case, like we can pre-build the cube, pre-aggregate the data, and do the queries. Basically build the dashboards. And I'll let Kayo speak on the what cannot be done. But yeah, so use case wise, you have to figure out a solution. Snowflake might be good for some other solutions that people want to access the data, SCD2 and all those, whatever it is. So if they want to query the data, it might be a better solution. I have not looked at it particularly, but it's like aggregates level. I think so. This was a very good solution.
And how do you scale the architecture?
So good question. You want to answer from the Kayo's perspective? I can answer from Hadoop perspective.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Kyvos is we are creating it in line with Hadoop. So whatever Hadoop can do, we are creating the similar solution, and we are leveraging all the possibilities around Hadoop, so that we can go alongside with Hadoop. So whatever we can imagine with Hadoop, we can imagine with Kyvos as well.
So basically what it means is you can add more query engines, like we have 10-node query engine, you can expand to more query engines, and you have bigger data sets. So you have to expand more. That's why it goes.
So in terms of, yeah, you are asking about data limit, if there is any. So there's no such data limit in Kyvos, because whatever amount of space you have in terms of storage, we can leverage that, and we can store our cuboids or aggregated data and then access it. You want to answer?
Yeah. So it's not so. I think so. If we go back to, so I'll come back to architecture, that we are building the cubes in Hadoop, but we are copying the cube that are built into the query engine. It does a replication of 2 or 3, depending on your needs. It does it. Now, but think about it, that you have to limit the business to exactly what they need. Just don't go overboard that I'll build everything, because data is increasing exponentially, right? Your nodes will be able to limit the data set to this much only. Yeah, means they have the baseline data, but for this this is like the Tableau, from Tableau they're accessing Kyvos, right? Directly. Sorry. Go ahead.
So are these all real-time connections from Tableau to Kyvos?
Yes.
And I saw the multiple tabs. Are you using like post URL to query separate workbooks to get at the granular data? It's certainly not loaded by a query to a single workbook, right?
It's in a single workbook. The thing that you saw was the drill down through action filters. So when they selected the highest granular level, when they click on a particular thing, what we are doing is we are going into the action filters and then displaying the data at the next level. So if it is at the chain level, then we go into the super bucket level, then at the bucket level, and then they go at the store item level at the lowest grain. Those
Seems
are
like
action
a lot of
filters.
data to load into one workbook with a real-time query, though. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's all through the live connection.
Through the
is
live
point
connection with
there. Yeah.
Kyvos.
Please go ahead.
No extra.
Did you look at combinations of using extracts along with live queries to kind of?
Yes,
Yes,
we did.
yes, we did. What happens is when you use an extract, it depends on the use case. Extracts perform well when you go up to certain amount of data. If you exceed more than like a few million rows, there will not be much difference between the extract and the live connection. We tried doing that, and the result for live connection was much better than the extract.
So even at the aggregate level, did you look at options of creating aggregates for extract and detail level using
We had a lot of challenges because when we tried to create those aggregates in Tableau with the volume of data, the performance, the query was taking a lot of time. I can give you an example. While calculating the days of supply at the store level, we had millions of records, and then when we used LOD, it was taking like 2-3 minutes for it to process the data and churn through the data. So we came up with an alternate solution for that. So live connection was a better option.
Yeah, please go.
How long did it take you to implement? Are you going to roll this out to the rest of the regions around the world?
Yeah, good question.
I can take that. So right now we have rolled out to all of the pertinent users, our inventory management team and our supply chain teams. So the way we've rolled out is we've had core UAT teams kind of help test the functionality. We've had them become the champions of these scorecards, and then we rolled out specifically to every single business unit that falls under inventory management and other supply chain support groups, and just kind of going forward with that.
So is it a US implementation or is it around the world?
It's a US implementation.
So do you plan on taking it around the world?
Right now, the scorecards are for specifically our US team for inventory management, but I'm sure we can talk about other implementations down the road.
And what was the time from beginning to implementation?
I think that we started back in February. Sometime we started this project February, March, and then I think we went till August, September. We recently just wrapped up our project. Means we have still some historical data we are building, but yeah, I think
About
so.
6 months for the first scorecard to be implemented in production.
Yeah.
Walgreens has its own brand as well for many of the product lines. So one of the scorecards or your technological architecture take a look at how your brand is performing when some of the comparable products, and does it do some kind of analytics or some kind of.
Take that, Mahek.
So essentially what we can do things like that. I think the biggest win for us is having that the supplier scorecard, like was shown, kind of bring up similar suppliers against each other and see how they're performing for various items. But that's kind of the use case that we have for looking at something like that.
But I think this is our first step. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just say from the Tableau perspective, best practice, typically you've got large data set, you want to limit the number of filters you have, 3, 5, 8, something like that, keep it. The requirement here was, no, we need over 30 filters, and we have to have them at the lowest grain of detail for all of the data, and if the solution doesn't do that, then it's not performing. So your question is a great one. Can we look at import-only items? Can we look at items that are Walgreens branded only? Can we look at certain suppliers? Can we look at certain DCs? Can we look at certain regions? Can we set all these filters at once? Oh, and by the way, I only want to look at it for this inventory planner and their reporting structure. Yes, you can do all that, but it's 30-some filters to do that, and our first reaction starting out was, no, this is not good design, but we stuck with it, and the performance is there. I guess the other thing I'd say about this is there's a real collaboration required with the Kyvos layer, where Kyvos has a lot of ability to tune the way the queries perform, and you have to get in with the users in UAT and start to see where they're really using and filtering the data. And then a query that might take a minute on the first run through UAT, the Kyvos team can tune it down to where it runs in 5 seconds. But it takes that experience of working with the users to get that sorted out.
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
My question comes from the infrastructure side. So definitely you got the Hadoop cluster. You have this DR environment, SDLC as well. And what I put in the architecture, you are having your cubes in the Hadoop cluster. So do you have that as high availability or SDLC on the Kyvos side as well, DR environment?
So we have the OLAP. It does a replication. So within the nodes, I'll say you can say kind of highly available because the replication is there at the query engine level, and then OLAP engine also we made highly available because how critical it is for business. So OLAP engine was standalone where there's no replication, so we made it highly available, and the query engine obviously it has a replication like Hadoop, so it's taken care of. From DR perspective, you need to have a DR is like when disaster happens, everything goes down from a particular data center. Then you have to have another data center stood up and running in parallel. So we have not built our data DR right now, but highly available it is.
No DR for Kyvos as of now, right?
No, but it's a replication is there. Yeah.
And every incoming request coming from the Tableau, that is going to the Kyvos BI layer, right?
So it goes through the OLAP engine, Kyvos OLAP engine, that's what I say, and then it routes the it does the load balancing and routes the request to the Kyvos query engine.
And that load balancing is on the Kyvos side or?
Kyvos OLAP engine. So Kyvos, I can go back to the architecture probably, but Kyvos has 2 OLAP engines. Okay, that's where the metadata and everything sits. And routing, the Tableau connection starts from the OLAP engine, and then it turns down to the query engine to extract the data and send it back. So we have a 10 nodes query engine and then 2 OLAP engines, separate OLAP engine, physical. So it's a 12 node you can say. Please go ahead. No, we did not. So we are particularly, we did not have any PHI data in this and PII data. So we made sure with our security and legal that we are okay with this. And this is currently accessed by the supplier also, this data set. So we are not encrypting it, but yeah, we have row level security and all those enabled. Yes, yes.
Do you allow self-service reporting at all?
Yeah, we have some the users, probably Mehak can churn in more. We have some of the user builder dashboards that we created, wherein they can build their own charts and graphs that they want to use. So the users requested for each of the scorecards, like inventory, we had a couple of dashboards that they wanted to use, and same thing for supplier. So we have some user filter like scatter plots that they can do flexible, and then flexible graph building where they can dynamically select whichever dimension and KPI that they want to see against those things.
We also provide capability to our super users to have Tableau desktop. So, of course, if we do not have Kyvos cubes, they will not be able to create their own Tableau dashboards, building it in the Hadoop data since it's unstructured. So, like users like Mehak, she knows how to build her own dashboards, her own reports, and so that's how we call self-service, because they can directly connect to Kyvos.
Once again, if users directly want to build a report, I think there's some education required because, once again, I told it's a Ferrari. Just keep that thought in mind. All right, any other question?
You mentioned there was an inventory target, dollar target. Did that drive the project, or did the eliminating the reports drive the project? What funded it?
The project was mainly driven by, we've had inventory purpose reports before, and we've changed our order replenishment systems to become more advanced, and now a lot of those reports just don't make any sense anymore. So a redesign was needed, but the redesign was not really possible for someone like me to do because we had to churn through so much data. So yeah, over time, what's expected is that one of the ways we're able to categorize inventory is we're able to see what's considered excess. So from there, we can bring down our days of supply and have those types of savings.
We have two main drivers, right? By 2020, we want to reduce our days of supply to 20, and we want to increase our SSIS basis points by 4.
Real quick, so your Hadoop and Kyvos clusters are on-prem behind the firewall?
Yes.
Why not cloud? I'm just curious.
Yeah, because so we are in the cloud journey right now and can straight on that. So right now everything was on-prem, so it made sense. But in future, yes, we are looking for cloud options in future. So everything, whole IT is moving towards cloud, as simple as that at this point. So.
It's a journey.
Might have an answer, and might have an answer.
Yeah, that's
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
yeah, but that's still in progress. So.
Yeah. So right now our Hadoop cluster is on-prem, so we have to copy lots of data from once the cube is built into the Kyvos query engine. So it made sense everything is nearby, because otherwise it will be a heavy load if you're copying from on-prem to cloud, that amount of data.
We're on-prem too, so I get it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also not something that you can just lift and shift right away. Right? We already invested so much in our on-prem. We want to make sure first that it's working. You want to prove to the business that it's a working solution before you cannot just keep on changing from one technology stack to another.
Particularly with that time window, that's pretty aggressive, right?
You hear that, Mehak?
Yes.
All right. Any other question? I hope you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What is the total cost of your current infrastructure?
Sorry, I did not follow the question. What? And can you repeat the question?
What is the total cost of infrastructure just for this project or whole of Walgreens?
So I can't reveal the cost, obviously, in that terms, because otherwise Kyvos will run after me. But what I'll tell is, hardware, we have a matured, I think, Hadoop environment to a certain extent, because we already are on 300 node cluster. But we do build different queues that they have a limited resources assigned to this process. So if you want number of nodes, I can give you need probably 10 to 20 Hadoop nodes for processing perspective, and then 10 Kyvos query engine with this amount of data, and 2 OLAP engines. And the software cost, Kyvos can answer that question. But there's Hadoop cost and other costs, yeah.
So compared to other big data vendors, besides speed, what's the other biggest advantage of using Kyvos?
Using Kyvos?
Yeah, what's the other, like besides speed, I already know it's very fast.
Yeah. No, the cubing architecture, the aggregates has to be built, right? One of the things Kyvos, one thing I liked was they took it personally. They had the onshore resource. We had paid for one onshore resource, but they had a lot of offshore resources involved in it. Their product team was involved in it. So they were excellent partners. I think so that really help us successful. Same I can say for Tableau also. If you get good vendor partners, if they are doing for sake of doing work and going back, not really committed to giving the solution, means I have Jared, our sales guy, he told, you guys are not coming back till the solution is done. He told his team, you're not coming back till the solution is done and delivered successfully.
But the product itself, the user interface and the ease of use. So like you can download the free version and try it yourself. You would not have a background. You would not have the Kyvos team like teaching you. I actually asked some of my team that has do not deal with big data or cubing technology. One day they're able to just play around it. So
yeah. So Kyvos cube building is relatively easy. Only thing is you need to know some of the performance tuning aspect, but the cube building itself is very simple to build. It's a very easy way to build it.
So Kyvos is before Tableau or after Tableau?
No, so you think about there's Hadoop. In Hadoop you do integration, you build facts and dimensions. That's your basic data. That will go input to Kyvos. Now Kyvos, you map it, you create a logical model with that facts and dimensions, and then you define the measures. These are the aggregate. You want to do sum, average, whatever you want to do, you define in Kyvos, and then Kyvos will build all those cube. That cube is used by Tableau to access. So
We are not using Hadoop, we are just using SQL.
yeah, so Kyvos, if you want to build this cube outside of Hadoop, what?
As of now, we support Hadoop as a source, or you can be on cloud if you have S3 as the source. We can read data from S3 too, but we have created this solution for big data and accelerating the queries over big data. So it makes sense to be in partner with Hadoop or S3. So we support Hadoop and S3 as source.
All right.
guys, we really appreciate the time, all of the good questions. We are more than happy to talk to you. If you want to know more, the Kyvos team is at
Booth
I
18.
had it up.
In the data village.
they're in the data village.
Six
right
Behind the
here.
Alteryx booth. Yeah.
So
We have a booth.
they're at booth 628.
Yes.
Okay. So come see us at booth 628.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.